Hey everyone, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Keisha, and today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in the month of May. Hey friends, it's been a minute. I did not post a video last week because I was coming back from vacation and I was a little tired, and so I decided to allow myself some rest, which I don't do often. But I'm here now to post this video a little bit late in the month, but I wanted to talk about all the books that I read in May. I have actually been going through quite a bit of a reading slump lately. I don't really know what caused it. Maybe it was Bookathon, just because I was so amped up for that, and then we had our readathon, and then I just kind of got wiped out. I'm not really sure. But I do have 8 books to talk to you guys about today, and we're going to hope that throughout the month of June, I get back in the swing of reading just a little bit, or at least find a little bit more of a balance again. So the first 3 books that I want to talk about, I actually read during Bookathon. So if you don't know, Bookathon is a spooky middle grade readathon that was created by myself and Ashley from the Bent Biblios podcast. This was our first month to host this. We did it the first week of May, and we do plan to do it again in the future. So if you enjoy reading spooky middle grade books, definitely stay tuned for future announcements for those readathons. But I read 3 books for Bookathon. And the first one is going to be Strange Star by Emma Carroll. This was our group read for the readathon, and personally, it was not my favorite. Ashley and I picked this because Ashley loves Frankenstein, and I love Emma Carroll because I read one of her previous books and really enjoyed it. And I really thought she was going to be a new favorite author for me, and I think she still can be, but just not from this book. To me, this was a good book. I gave it 3 stars, but it just wasn't quite my cup of tea, I think. But essentially, this is a story that draws a lot from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and kind of tells maybe how, it's like a fictional account of how Mary Shelley decided to write Frankenstein, where she got her inspiration from. So if you like Frankenstein, I think there is a definite chance you will like this book. So check it out if that interests you. I also think that as an adult, if you are someone who wants to get into reading middle grade, this might be a good book for you because it read very mature to me, and not mature in a sense that it's not middle grade, but I just felt like the writing was very mature. So I feel like you could potentially like this one. Like I said, it was just good for me, not really great, but it was 3 stars. The next book I read, I really loved it. It was probably my favorite book that I read this month, and that's going to be The Clackity by Lora Senf. Lora is a new author and a new to me author. This is her debut novel, and it comes out on June 28th. I so luckily got this advanced reader copy from Lora herself. She is so sweet. If you guys have not connected with her, you definitely should. I'm very excited for more of her books to come out. This is the first book in her Blight Harbor series, and it follows Evie and Evie's Aunt Des. And Evie lives with her Aunt Des, and her Aunt Des is like this psychic medium or a paranormal expert. That's more along the lines of what she is. She is a paranormal expert, and she goes missing one day. And Evie knows that she went missing when she was in a slaughterhouse. And there's this creepy slaughterhouse. There's some creepy stuff that goes on. This is a book that I think would be great for people who love Coraline. I am one of those people because I did definitely get Coraline vibes from this. Evie goes on this incredible journey in this other world filled with penny-eyed ghosts and hungry witches and just a bunch of crazy creatures. The Clackity is one of them. You also have a serial killer named John Jeffrey Pope. And so I feel like also if you like The Keeper by Guadalupe Garcia McCall, that might come into play in this as well, or like just kind of those vibes of somebody after you. I just thought this was an incredible book. I did tab it. I thought it was awesome. I can't wait to read more. It was very atmospheric. I will say this did not at all feel like a debut. It felt like this author was seasoned. So I'm very excited to read more from her in the future. This was 5 out of 5 stars. And the last book that I read for Bookathon was No Place for Monsters by Kory Merritt. I picked this one up off of a recommendation that I got off of Instagram. I was asking people for spooky middle grade graphic novel recommendations because I feel like I've read all of them, or at least many of the ones that I'm interested in. And somebody told me about this one. I can't remember who, so I apologize, but thank you if you're the one who recommended this to me, or if you've read this and have mentioned it to me before. This is a graphic novel that's kind of set up in a similar vein to Diary of a Wimpy Kid or Brian Selznick's books. It's very creepy. The illustrations in it are like spine tingling, and the story was pretty good too. I did give this one 3 stars. I thought it was good and not great, but I did enjoy my read of it. It does have a second book, and I haven't decided if I'm going to pick that one up yet, but it follows Levi and Kat in this town where things are starting to go amiss. people's families are like a family is losing their kid, or like the kid goes missing, but then the family doesn't remember the kid, so they don't realize that their kid is missing because they don't even remember having the kid to begin with. And the whole town just forgets these kids, and nobody really knows what's going on until Levi and Kat start to notice that these kids are going missing, and they're the only ones that remember. So they're trying to figure out what is going on and what this guy has to do with it. After the readathon, I decided to read a book on Facebook Live in my middle grade book club kids group. I do host a middle grade book club with H12-year-olds in my area. We do have a Facebook group to keep up when we're not meeting, and so since we're not meeting over the summer months, I decided to read a book with them on Facebook Live just for whenever they got a chance to come on and watch. And the book that we read was The Edge of In-Between by Lorelei Savaryn. I was so excited to get this book. I got it almost immediately after it came out. This is a Secret Garden kind of retelling, reimagining, and as you all know, if you've been watching my recent videos, I fell in love with The Secret Garden this year, so I have been all about all the books with the retellings, and this one was so good. It is about this girl named Lottie, and she lives in Favel, and Favel is this very vibrant, colorful place where people have magic and they have color, and whenever they get older and lose their magic, they start to turn gray, so they're like living gray. And Lottie's parents end up passing away, and she ends up going to live with her like estranged uncle that she didn't even realize was alive. And she goes to the land of in-between, which is between the land of the living and the dead, and she is dead set on finding her parents. She really wants to be reunited with her parents, and she kind of goes on a journey from there. She finds out about the people at the place that she went. I can't even remember the name of it now. At Forsaken. She finds out about her uncle and the keepers there and just different people that live there. If you know the Secret Garden story, it does kind of follow along those lines, but this definitely delves a lot into grief and how people deal with grief and overcome grief. I think it's an incredible story. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. I can't remember right off the top of my head what I rated it, but I think it was like 4 or 4.5 stars, but there was a twist that I did not see coming, and it was so good. But yeah, I think I gave it like 4 stars. So definitely pick this one up if you love The Secret Garden or love like ghosty, whimsical stories. This is such a good one. Then I read like 3 graphic novels because, like I said, reading slump. So I ended up picking up Lightfall, The Girl in the Galgerian by Probert. And I really liked this one. I've seen it around a lot. I've seen a lot of people talk about it. It is a middle grade graphic novel. It's fantasy. And it reminds me a lot of like the Amulet series or the 5 Worlds series. It's very good. There is like this land that like has all of these suns, or like, I don't even remember now that I've read it. Like I said, reading slump, so we forget things. There's this land where there was like the sun existed, and then this thing took the sun away and split it, and now it's split into these little balls of light, and these different places have this ball of light, and now somebody's coming to take them back. That's a really poor synopsis of this book, but it's an adventure story. I think if you like stories like 5 Worlds and Amulet and things of that sort, then you should definitely pick this one up. I did give it 4 stars. I thought the illustrations were beautiful, and I thought the story was really good as well. Then my friend Elizabeth so kindly sent me the second book, so I was like, why the heck not? We're going to read it too. So I read book 2 in Lightfall. This one is Shadow of the Bird, and it just continues on with the story of Bee and Cad. I think these characters are so fun to follow. It's a very adventurous story as they are trying to figure out what is going on and how they can save their worlds. I'm not sure how many books are going to be in this series, but I'm very excited to continue on. Like I said, again, if you like Amulet or anything in that vein, definitely check this one out. I gave this one 4 stars as well. The last graphic novel that I read was Sorceline by Sylvia, Douyé, and Paula Antista. I probably didn't say those names right, so I apologize, but this book was originally published in another country and was translated. I want to say it's like French, but I may be wrong, so I am saying that knowing that I may be wrong, but I think it was translated from French. But this is about Sorceline, and if you just look at this cover, I mean, it's gorgeous. The illustrations in this book are gorgeous. The story is amazing. I think it's great for people who like things like Harry Potter and especially like the Fantastic Beasts series, because this very much reminded me of that. There's this school where these people learn to heal these magical creatures and take care of these magical creatures. So I was like, wow, that really sounds like Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. And there are definitely some elements you can tell that are kind of drawn from that in here, but it does have a story all its own. and there are twists and turns along the way. There is a cliffhanger at the end, and there are going to be more books in the series. I believe before the translation, the original books have like 5 or 6 or more. So this is only the first one translated to English, and I just need them all to be translated like tomorrow because I love this so much. I thought it was very good. I gave it 4 stars, and I highly recommend it if you like middle grade fantasy stories. I can't really tell you anything more about it except that it's just a school where these people take care of animals. You're following Sorceline, and she's kind of finding herself on this journey, and there's something going on where something's happening to people at the school, and she's trying to figure out what's going on. That's all I can really say, but it's definitely a great one to pick up. And the last book that I finished, I didn't actually finish until the 1st of June, but I'm counting it for my May wrap-up just because I read the bulk of it in May, and that is Have You Seen Me by Kate White. Unfortunately, this was a little bit of a letdown for me. I don't think it was a bad book. I gave it 3 stars, so I thought it was good. This is definitely a 3-star reading month for me, if you can't tell. So I think it was good, and I think people would enjoy this. But I think that you need to know going into this, it's not really a thriller. It is very much more a detective novel of suspense, and I thought it was good in senses. I just feel like it was a little bit too long and drug out, and I wanted more happening. But I will say that what kept me reading this is that the writing was really good, and at the end of each chapter there were cliffhangers, which I absolutely loved because that made me want to continue on reading. So this story is about a woman named Allie Linden. She is a journalist, and she wakes up one morning and goes to her office, and she tries her key card and it doesn't work. Then she sees her boss, and her boss is like, "What are you doing here? You haven't worked here in 5 years." And so she is trying to figure out where this missing time has gone, because she realizes that she is struggling with amnesia, and she is missing 2 days of her life, and she has no idea what she was doing during those 2 days, and somebody out there is determined to make sure that she doesn't remember. I love stories that deal with like memory loss. She was actually in a disassociative state, which is not a spoiler, it's on the back cover. But I love stories that deal with things like that, and so I was very intrigued by this. I also had someone tell me that this was one of their favorite books of all time, and they loved it so much, so I had very high hopes, which is why it was a little bit of a letdown that it was only 3 stars. The kind of wrapping up of the story and what was actually going on was a little bit disappointing to me. I just thought like it wasn't anything special. It was just kind of random, and I was suspicious of everybody in the story. I will say that. Like, I had no idea what was going on, who was doing it, who was the culprit, anything like that. But I just was a little bit disappointed in the whole like why of it all. So I will say that, but I think that if you like kind of detective stories with this kind of subject matter, you might like this book. I just don't think it was the one for me, which is why I just gave it 3 stars. All right, y'all, that is all of the books that I read in the month of May. Like I said, I had a little bit of a slumpy month after Bookathon. I did read a lot of 3-star reads, or I guess I did read a couple 4-star too, but I read a lot of graphic novels in middle grade, which are great, but I really just feel like I got in a slump, and I still feel like I'm in a slump. But the good news is that I'm having a really great time. While my reading is in a slump, my life is not in a slump. I feel rejuvenated and very joyful because I really feel like God has blessed my husband and I with new couple friends to hang out with, which has been a struggle in real life for a while. As adults, you guys know it is hard to make friends sometimes, and people come and go when you're in college, and it's just been a struggle for the past couple of years for me to connect with anybody. And so I do want to just like praise the Lord for a moment, because I'm very happy that we are being more involved in life now. We have more to do. I have more to do than just go to work and come home and read every day, which is fine. If you do that, that's great, and I love that. But I feel like I don't have to do that as much. So I'm trying to find a balance now of my new hobbies and hanging out with new friends and just kind of living my life in the present day and being off my phone a little more. So if I'm a little bit less active here, that is why. But I do have a lot of videos coming soon. I am going to keep up on YouTube, but my reading may just be a little slower until I find a better balance. But I do appreciate you all so much. This community has meant the world to me in seasons of loneliness, in seasons of just trying to figure out what I'm doing in life. And books and you guys have really meant the world to me and given me so much joy in my life. So I want you to know how much I appreciate you, how much I love this community. I'm not going anywhere. I just am in a reading slump, and then also living my life outside of technology for a little bit as well. So I love you all so much. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, friends.